My name is Mark Reynolds. I'm a pretty normal guy. I'm 6 feet 1 inch and weigh 210 pounds, so I'm a little bigger than average. My mom and sister always told me I was a good-looking guy. Of course, they would say that we're family. But I think they're right, because I've never had any trouble getting young girls to go out with me. The most important woman in my life is Marcy Williams. Yes, Marcy and I are Mark and Marcy. She's blonde, 5 feet 9 inches, weighs about 143 pounds, and is very beautiful. Marcy is curvy. She looks more like a young Pamela Anderson, before plastic surgery, than a skinny model. She's also a little self-centered. But damn it, I love her. We met in college but didn't start dating until our senior year. I studied business administration with a minor in accounting. Accountants have a stereotype of being soft, quiet, and not very funny. I am the exception to that rule. I studied hard and got very good grades because I wanted to find a good job after graduation. But no matter how hard I studied, I had even more fun. Weeknights were devoted to studying, and weekends were for partying. Marcy studied one of the vague sciences, psychology. She chose this major not because she wanted to help people, but because the classes were mostly easy. Her father paid for her education, and she needed to maintain a good GPA, so Marcy chose the easy path. Her father was a very wealthy man, let's face it, he was incredibly wealthy, and she had no intention of working after graduation. Her husband or father would support her so she could do more important things like shopping and going to all the right parties. I know I should have run away, but as I said, I was in love. After graduation, Marcy and I decided to live together, maybe to practice marriage. I was making good money working as an assistant commercial director at a large construction company. Sitting at a desk was making me soft, so I joined a gym to work out. My personal trainer was a former Marine, and he really made me sweat. It took some time, but soon I was strong and fit. Marcy and I lived together for almost 2 years. She worked in a boutique, and I paid all the bills. Marcy didn't make much, but her father helped her out. Her father seemed very happy that Marcy wasn't living with him. He and Marcy's mother had divorced because her mother had become more than friendly with her tennis coach. Neither Marcy nor her father knew where his ex-wife was. He had married a woman about 5 years older than Marcy, so having an adult daughter living at home interfered with their lifestyle. So he paid Marcy to move out. I started thinking it was time to make our relationship more serious. I was thinking about marriage. When I asked Marcy to marry me, she was very happy, threw her arms around me, and said yes. We celebrated in the privacy of our bedroom. As we were resting after our sexual marathon, Marcy said we could start planning the wedding when she came back at the end of the summer. Wait a minute. After she comes back at the end of the summer? Where is she going? Is she planning to be gone all summer? What the hell is going on? I asked Marcy all these questions. Her plan to leave for the summer came as a surprise to me. It turned out that Marcy had been talking to her classmate Sally. Sally was organizing a summer camp for kids and asked Marcy to join her as a counselor. It was a chance to earn some money and apply what she had learned in college. Marcy thought it was a great idea. You didn't even think to discuss this with me? I'm your fiancé, I asked her. I wasn't in the best mood. No pun intended. I didn't think you'd be against it. You'll have time to do something you haven't done in a while. It's a really good opportunity, and they pay very well. How long will you be at camp? Is there anyone there I know besides Sally? My question shows what I was thinking. We were still debating whether she should go. Silly me, it was already decided. I just didn't know it yet. Well, you know Sally, Linda, and Judy. They're all girls from my psychology class. You know them from school. She mumbled the next 2 names, and I'm not sure I heard them correctly. I hope not. What did you say your last name was? Roger and Alan are coming too, but I don't think you know them. They were both in my early classes, she replied. Marcy wasn't as candid about these 2 names as she was about the girls. I had never met Alan, but I knew Roger. The thing was, Roger had dated Marcy in college for a few months. He broke up with her, and shortly after that, she and I started dating. Roger wasn't very happy that I was dating Marcy. He thought she was just waiting for him to get tired of her. One night, Roger and another guy stopped me at a bar, and I think the other guy was Alan. Roger basically ordered me to stop dating Marcy. I forgot to tell you that I don't like being told what to do. That was the only thing that kept me from joining the Marines when I was younger. I told Roger that Marcy was none of his business. In essence, I suggested that he engage in a sexual activity that was physically impossible. My response ended the conversation because Roger punched me, and I responded by breaking his nose. There was blood everywhere. The other guy didn't say a word and helped Roger get into his car. That was the only time I ever saw Roger. Marcy, I know who Roger is. We're acquainted. I also know that you and Roger dated for a long time in college. I surprised her with my statement. I didn't know you knew him. When did you meet Roger? He and his buddy came up to me one night shortly after you and I started dating. He told me to dump you and punched me. I broke his nose and never heard from him again. I guess he decided you weren't worth fighting for. But it doesn't matter, you're not being honest with me. And I don't like that. Mark, I didn't tell you about those guys because I was afraid you'd misunderstand. Roger and I did date, but we're both in other relationships now. He has a girlfriend, and I have a fiancé. She smiled at me as she said this. Bullshit, Marcy. Don't throw dirt on me and say it's rain. You didn't tell me because you were afraid I wouldn't let you go if I found out you were going to spend the summer with your ex-boyfriend. And you were right. You're not going. Please, Mark, I really want to work at camp this summer. She paused, then said, You know, let's go have dinner with Roger and Alan. They're bringing their girlfriends, and you can meet them. You'll see, Roger's just an old friend. Marcy was making plans. I didn't like the idea, but after another hour of discussion, I agreed that we could go to dinner with them. The following Saturday, we met up with the other couples at a barbecue restaurant. The food was good, and the atmosphere was relaxed. It was the perfect place for us to meet. Meeting Roger, Alan, and their girlfriends didn't reassure me. Something was off. I didn't know what it was, but I felt that something wasn't right. After the show, we sat down, and Roger said to me, I know we didn't get along very well last time, and I want to apologize for my behavior. Marcy broke up with me, and I was hurt in my pride. I took it out on you, and I'm sorry. The more Roger spoke, the more my lie detector warned me about him. I had a bad feeling. In the Old West, Roger would have been a snake oil salesman. There was something sneaky about him. His friendly mask and excessive display of camaraderie got on my nerves. You broke my nose, but I didn't take my anger out on you, Roger. That was a long time ago. Just forget about it, I told him. Roger's smile became a little strained at that moment, but he didn't pay any attention to my joke about his nose. The rest of the evening didn't help me shake the unpleasant feeling that Roger and Marcy would be working together over the summer. Roger and his girlfriend were supposed to be a hot couple, but there were no signs of love or romance. They barely spoke to each other and hardly touched each other like lovers. Alan was supposed to be living with his girlfriend, but there was no spark between them either. When we got home, Marcy said, I told you they were just old friends. They both have girlfriends, so you have nothing to worry about, honey. Marcy, something's wrong. Roger and Alan are too upset that you're going to camp. Why should they care? I don't want you to go, Marcy. It could cause problems between us. Don't be silly. I'll be back at the end of the summer and we can continue our life together. I just want to do something useful before we get married. Everything will be fine, Marcy tried to reassure me. I wasn't reassured. Sally was supposed to pick up Marcy on Saturday morning. It was about a 3-hour drive to the camp. Over the weekend, they had to prepare the camp for the children who were arriving on Monday. On Friday evening, Marcy and I went out to dinner and ended the evening at a club where we could dance. That night, we made love very tenderly. I still felt guilty about her leaving, but I couldn't tell her to stay home. We weren't married yet, and I wasn't sure she would listen to me. On Saturday morning, we said goodbye while Sally waited in the car. When Marcy came to the door, she paused, kissed her engagement ring, and held it out to me. I'll be in the woods doing crafts and other things. I don't want it to get lost or scratched. Hold it for me, please, she asked. Then she left without letting me say a word. As a man, I don't know much about women and their jewelry, but my mother never takes off her rings. Maybe she takes them off when she takes a bath or something. But I've seen her painting the room, washing pots and pans, and doing all kinds of housework, and she never takes her rings off. I was very worried that Marcy had left her ring at home. Marcy called me when she and Sally arrived at camp. She said she already missed me and would call every other day and not to worry about her. I got the next call on Monday evening. She was thrilled that the kids were at camp. Marcy was in charge of a group of 12 to 13-year-old girls, and from the sound of it, she was having a great time. About 3 weeks went by. Marcy called on Mondays and Thursdays. Every other Sunday, I drove to the camp to see Marcy, and we spent the day together, strengthening our relationship. She had lost a few pounds from working with the kids, hiking, and other physical activities at camp. Damn, she looked great. Marcy told me that now that everything was organized, the counselors took turns being on duty on Saturdays and watching the kids. I offered to come on Saturdays when she wasn't working so we could spend the whole weekend together. Oh, I can't, Mark. On Saturdays when I'm not on duty, I help with shopping in town and do odd jobs around the camp. Actually, this Saturday I'll be helping with painting, so we'll have to settle for Sunday. But thanks for asking. Our conversation took place on Thursday evening. She wasn't working that Saturday, so I was going to go to camp anyway since Friday was our 2-year anniversary. I called Sally to explain what I wanted to do and ask if Marcy could take the weekend off. On Friday morning, I called the camp office. Cripple Creek Camp, Sally speaking. How can I help you? Hi, Sally. This is Mark Reynolds. I need your help. Hello, Mark. Good morning. How can I help you? I know Marcy isn't working tomorrow, and I was hoping you could let her have the weekend off. Could you find someone to fill in for her on Saturday and take care of deliveries and other things? I'm glad to hear you're trying to work things out. You two are perfect for each other. I'm not sure what deliveries you're talking about. We have a repairman and a driver who picks up deliveries, at least the ones that aren't delivered. He also does painting, gardening, and pretty much everything else. Wait, what do you mean Marcy and I are back together? Something was wrong. I know you've had problems, and I'm glad your relationship is working out, Sally replied. What makes you think we have problems, Sally? When Marcy got in the car to come here, I noticed she wasn't wearing her wedding ring. I asked her if she had forgotten it, and she said you had put off the engagement and decided to give each other some space. She said that's why she took the job. Now, the bad feeling I had when I met Roger and Alan came rushing back. If Marcy didn't need to work on Saturdays, what was she doing? And why didn't she want me to come to camp to spend Saturday with her? Something was wrong, and I didn't like it. Sally confirmed my suspicions with her next statement. It's good that Marcy has friends like Roger and Alan to spend time with. On weekends, they go hiking, have picnics, and drive around the neighborhood. She seems to feel better when she's with them, Sally said. I was surprised I was able to think so quickly at that moment, but I came up with a plan. Sally, I'll come over on Saturday, but please don't tell Marcy. I'm bringing the engagement ring and want to surprise her. That will be a nice surprise. I won't tell Marcy, but you have to invite me to the wedding, okay? Sally hung up, laughing. Knowing how much time Marcy spent with Roger and Alan, I didn't believe the wedding would happen. Unless there was some explanation for the situation with those three, our relationship would be ruined. On Saturday morning, around 9 o'clock, I parked my truck in front of the office in Cripple Creek Camp. I walked into the office and saw Sally at her desk. She saw me and smiled. This will be a great surprise for Marcy. I think it's so sweet, Sally said to me. Where's Marcy? I didn't see her when I pulled up. She took the kids for a ride around the lake. They left about an hour ago. I couldn't stop her without revealing your surprise, but I told them to be back by 10 o'clock. You won't have to wait long. I told Sally I'd move my car so Marcy wouldn't see it when they got back. When I arrived, Marcy and I had driven around the neighborhood, so I knew the area well. I had a rough idea of where they might be if something happened. Marcy showed me a secluded spot by the lake. The place I was heading for was on the other side of the lake, and I drove there. I was driving too fast for such country roads, but I guess my anger got the better of me. When I got close to the secluded spot, I slowed down and finally stopped about a quarter of a mile away. From there, I walked. I tried my best to act like an Indian and sneak up on them. I could have stomped my feet and beaten a drum. They were too busy to notice. If they had just been sitting on a blanket talking, I would have been a little upset. But they were doing much more than just talking. They were all naked. Marcy was riding her just friend, Roger, like a cowgirl, and her friend Alan was kissing her. I must have approached just as Roger finished, because Marcy stopped and Alan switched places with Roger. So she was engaging with both of them. I am not weak, and I could have barged in and stopped them, but it was obvious that this was not their first time. I crept closer through the pine trees and took a few pictures with my camera. When I planned to come this Saturday, I thought it would be nice to put some of our photos in an album. Now, I thought it would be nice to have some evidence when I talked to Marcy. There was no need to leave quietly because Marcy was making noise. I returned to the camp and went into the office. There was a computer, and I asked Sally if I could print out some of the wildlife photos I had taken. I told her Marcy would like them. Sally told me to help myself, that she needed to check something and would be right back. I downloaded a couple of photos and printed them out. I was sitting on the hood of my pickup truck when the terrible trio returned. They came from the backyard and drove around the office building. Marcy didn't notice me until they turned the corner. Even from that distance, I could see her surprised look and read her lips. Oh, shit. She tried to fix her clothes when they stopped next to me. Getting out of the car, she dropped her bra and panties behind the wheel of the pickup, trying to hide them. But it didn't matter. Her blouse was unevenly buttoned, and she had to fasten a button on her shorts. She pushed Alan out of the car and ran over to me. "Hi, honey. What are you doing here? I told you I was at work today. We just got back from a trip," she lied to me. Marcy had no idea what trouble she was in. She tried to get out of the situation. "I don't call parking by the lake with those two jerks work, do you? What were you doing in that secluded spot by the lake?" I waited to see how she would get out of this situation. Roger took a couple of steps toward me and said, "Who did you call an idiot? I don't like that, and I demand that you apologize to Alan and me." Remember what happened the last time you demanded something from me, Roger? If you're smart, you won't get involved. If not, come closer and I'll kick your ass again. Your choice. Roger backed away, perhaps realizing it was better to get out of the rain. "Marcy, I'm waiting for an answer. What were you doing at the lake with those two?" "Nothing, Mark. We just stopped to cool off and rest before going back to camp." She still tried to wriggle out of the situation. "How did you even know we stopped at the lake?" "I came looking for you and those two idiots. I parked on the road and walked down to the lake. You know, I saw some wild animals that were so strange that I just had to take pictures of them. Since you've been here longer than me, maybe you can tell me what I saw." I handed Marcy the printed photos. When I told her I had been following her, she began to tremble slightly. She looked at the photos and turned pale. Marcy realized she had been caught. She looked at me and spoke. Mar, she stammered. "Don't bother, girl. I don't want to hear that it didn't mean anything, that it was just sex, or that I didn't want to hurt you. I don't want to hear any of the typical bullshit cheaters say when they get caught." "But Mark, Marcy started. "Shut up, bitch," I shouted. "What don't you understand about? I don't want to hear it. Nothing excuses what you did. I brought the engagement ring with me, but I don't think you're getting it." Marcy started crying. Roger came over to hug her. "Roger, get away from her, at least while I'm here. If you don't, what I did to you last time will seem like a slap on the wrist. Get away from her. She's on her own, I told him. He backed away again, and I continued talking to Marcy. This just shows how little I meant to you. You lied to me about why you took this job. You lied to me about your relationship with that jerk. And you lied to me so you could spend more time with those guys. I still can't believe you slept with both of them. You're a first-class whore, number one. No, honey, that's not true. I love you, Marcy said. Bullshit, Marcy. You don't do things like that to someone you love. You don't sleep with two guys at the same time if you love someone. I had to stop for a moment. My anger was getting out of control, and I needed to back off. Don't come back to the apartment, Marcy. I'll pack your things, and you can send someone to pick them up. I wouldn't send any of those guys. They won't like seeing me again. Alan spoke for the first time. Damn it, Mark. I just took what she offered. She came at me. You would have done the same thing in my place. You know, I thought you were the smartest guy in our company. When you didn't say anything, I thought you understood. I was wrong. You're dumber than Roger. Alan frowned and straightened up. Don't do anything stupid, Alan. I'll be happy to deal with you or both of you. I wouldn't have done what you did. You knew Marcy was engaged, but you went after her anyway. That makes you just as much of a jerk as Roger. You all make me sick. Remember, don't go back to the apartment, Marcy. Send someone to get your things. I'm done with you. When I turned to leave, Marcy said, You can be a tough and unforgiving person, Mark. She was still crying. No, I'm not. I'm just hurt and disappointed. You broke my heart, Marcy. Maybe I'm not tough because it kills me, but I am unforgiving. I've had enough of all of you. Go to hell, Marcy. I got in my car and started to drive away. Marcy fell to the ground, crying, and watched me drive away. When I got to the gate, Sally was standing there waving at me. I was going to drive past her, but I thought she deserved better. I stopped and looked at her. Mark, I'm so sorry. I didn't know they were having fun until I saw the photos on my computer. If I had known what Marcy was up to, I wouldn't have hired her, Sally said. I know, Sal. It's not your fault that Marcy is such a slutty girl. It's all her fault. Thanks for trying to help, but I have to get out of here before I lose control. It'll be bad if I go after those three. Bye, Sally. Call me when you get back to town and we'll grab lunch or something. I drove home, thinking about Marcy and those two guys the whole time. I couldn't believe she did that. I don't mean she slept with one guy, I mean she slept with both of them. I was right. She was a slutty girl, but that didn't help. It still hurt a lot. On Monday and Tuesday, I was in a bad mood at work. Everyone noticed that something was bothering me. Maybe it was because I was yelling when things didn't go my way. The rest of the work week wasn't any better. I spent the weekend drunk. Unfortunately, when I sobered up, the pain didn't go away. I decided to stop trying to forget Marcy with alcohol. It wasn't working, and it was costing me a lot of money. The following Tuesday evening, fate, the devil, or someone else decided that I hadn't suffered enough and hadn't been through enough. Marcy and her father came to pick up her things. The doorbell rang, and there stood Marcy and her father, Mr. Williams. I looked at Mr. Williams and said, She's not welcome here, but you can come in, Mr. Williams. He told Marcy to wait in the car and came in. Mr. Williams had always been kind to me. The few times we had met, he had treated me with respect and was friendly. I didn't know him well enough to like him, but I respected him. Mark, is there any chance you and Marcy could be friends again? I know you had a falling out, but hasn't your pride been getting in the way long enough? Something told me that Mr. Williams didn't know the whole story. The way he phrased his question suggested that Marcy hadn't told him everything. What did Marcy tell you, sir? She said she was at camp with another boy, and you misunderstood what was going on. Marcy said you saw this Roger guy hug her in a friendly way, and you thought it was something more. She said you broke off the engagement and took the ring. She's very sorry, Mark. Mr. Williams was a little surprised when I started laughing so hard that I almost fell off my chair. Mr. Williams, she lied to you just like she lied to me. As usual, Marcy isn't to blame. This is more than just a misunderstanding, sir. I told him the whole story. How Marcy had schemed to get me to let her go to summer camp. How she had lied to me and misled me. I told him that she had left the engagement ring and why she wanted to leave it behind. As I told him, he shook his head, and when I finished, he was very angry. I also told him that I had photos of her with both men. That stupid bitch. She's just like her mother. My second wife doesn't get along with Marcy because of this. That's why I always paid Marcy's expenses so she wouldn't have to come home often. I'm sorry I came here and bothered you with this nonsense. I didn't know everything. Anyway, I think you did the right thing by kicking her out. Good luck, Mark. With that, he left, taking Marcy with him. I saw him yelling at her as they drove away. Over the next few days, Marcy called me several times a day. As soon as I heard her voice, I hung up. If she called my cell phone and I saw it was her, I didn't answer. I didn't want to talk to her. Her father sent one of his men to pick up her things, and as far as I knew, Marcy and I were broken up. In the second week after our breakup, my boss came into my office and closed the door. Damn, what have I done? I thought. Mr. Kelly, my boss, told me that Marcy had been calling me at work 3 or 4 times a day. Our secretary, Julie, was stressed out because she wouldn't let Marcy talk to me. He told me that my personal life was my business as long as it didn't interfere with work. Marcy's calls were interfering with work. Mr. Kelly asked me to talk to Marcy and convince her to stop calling. I told him I would take care of it that evening. On the same day that I spoke with them at camp, Sally fired Marcy, Roger, and Alan. She said that the 3 of them were setting a bad example for the children. That was just an excuse. Sally didn't like Marcy's behavior. Marcy moved in with her father for a while, and I'm sure the atmosphere in their house was tense. That evening, I called Marcy at her father's house. She was very happy to hear my voice, at least at first. Marcy, stop calling me at work. You're getting me in trouble with my boss. Let's meet tomorrow evening at 7 at Tony's, a local bar. You can tell me everything you want to say there. Thanks, Mark. I'll be there. I just want to say that. Leave it for tomorrow, Marcy. I don't want to hear that nonsense again. See you at Tony's. The next evening, I arrived at Tony's at 6:55. Marcy was already there, sitting in the corner. When I approached her, she smiled, stood up, and hugged me. I stopped her and sat down. I thought we could order dinner and talk, Mark, Marcy said. I didn't come here to socialize or have dinner with you, Marcy. I came here to break up with you and make you stop calling me at work. Tell me what you need, and let's get this over with. That's not fair, Mark. You have to listen to me without being prejudiced, Marcy said. Fair? Fair? I said, raising my voice several hundred decibels. You really want to talk about fairness, girl? I really didn't wait for an answer. If you want to talk, you better start. I have plans for dinner. Come on, Marcy. I wasn't going to give her any leeway. What happened with the guys was just a fling. They mean nothing to me. As you know, Roger and I were dating, and when we broke up, there was something unresolved between us. I used my time at camp to get rid of any feelings and issues I might still have had for Roger. Marcy looked at me as if I should agree with her reasoning. Okay, that explains Roger, at least in your mind. But what about Alan? Did you have problems with him too? No, I admit Alan was a mistake. He was watching Roger and me when we were first together at the lake. Alan was very excited. I did it to shut him up. When I watched the 3 of you, it didn't seem like they were using you for the first time. What do you think? Well, after Alan surprised me the first time, I really didn't see anything wrong with continuing. The damage was already done, so why create an additional situation? I was afraid Alan would tell Sally or someone else if I didn't take care of him, Marcy replied. El Toro poo-poo, Marcy, I said. What does that mean? It's Texas Mexican slang for nonsense, Marcy. It's just as big a lie as all the others you've told me. You slept with Roger and decided to try Alan. It was your last fling, and you decided it had to be a good one. Marcy sat for a minute, gathering her thoughts. Then she said, "Mark, I want to go home. I told you Roger and Alan mean nothing to me. It was just a fling before the wedding. When we get married, I'll be yours again. Please, Mark." "We don't have a home, Marcy. I have a place where I live, but you can't go there. All your intrigues, lies, and promiscuity have killed all my feelings for you. Even if I could forgive you, I couldn't forget. I can't trust you anymore, Marcy. Maybe I never could. Maybe you had others you were playing with while we were together. I don't know, but I'll always wonder." She sat in the taxi and realized for the first time that this time she wouldn't get her way. I think that fact bothered her as much as the breakup itself. "Marcy, you're a spoiled girl. You're so pretty that everyone always gave you everything you wanted. But not this time. You have universe syndrome. Everything has to revolve around you. Take that mentality and go home to Daddy. Maybe he'll buy you honesty and character, but I doubt it. I don't want to see you, talk to you, or even hear about you. Goodbye." I threw some money on the table and left before Marcy saw me crying. She had no idea how much she hurt me. I let it all out, and maybe now I can start to heal. Work got easier when Marcy stopped calling every half hour. Julie even stopped by my office to thank me. My boss praised me for my good work, and things calmed down a bit. I still yelled at my computer or spreadsheet sometimes, but things were looking up. I don't know what it is about single men that bothers married women so much. Maybe they can't stand the sight of a happy man who isn't tied down. It's a mystery. My secretary said she knew a nice girl who would be perfect for me. She wanted to invite me to dinner with her husband so I could meet this nice girl. "Sarah, I respect, appreciate, and even love you a little. You may be the exception, but women are devilish creatures. The devil created Eve to torment Adam. Adam wasn't expelled from paradise. He ran away as fast as he could, trying to escape from that devil's spawn, Eve. Women were created to ruin men's lives and destroy them. So no, thank you. I don't want to date anyone, not even a nice girl like you. Let's just leave things as they are, okay?" A month and a half after the fiasco at camp, I received an unexpected phone call. Sally called and said she was ready to go to dinner, which I had promised her on that terrible day at camp. I was very busy with a project and hadn't planned on having lunch, so I suggested dinner on Friday evening. We agreed to meet at a steakhouse that we both liked. I know I said that women are torture for men. Sally wasn't like that, and we were just friends, so maybe I was safe. I met Sally at the steakhouse, and we had a very nice dinner. After that, we went to the lounge to have a drink and talk. "Mark, I want to tell you again that I didn't know anything about Marcy and those two until you showed me those photos," Sally said to me. "I know, Sally. You've already told me that, and I believe you, especially after you fired everyone that same day. Don't worry, I know you weren't involved," I replied. "But I feel like I should have known something was wrong. When you came to pick up Marcy, you were so affectionate with each other. I should have known that Marcy lied to me about you two breaking up. Looking back, it just doesn't add up." Sally was very upset that she hadn't noticed what was going on. "Forget about it, girl. Let's have another drink, listen to some music, and relax." "Mark, how are you? I understand that this was a shock. Are you okay?" Sally was concerned. "No, I'm not okay, but I will be. I just need some time, I think," I replied. We finished our drinks, and I walked Sally to her car. I hugged her, and she kissed me on the cheek as we said goodbye. As I walked back to my car, I thought about what a nice person Sally was. She seemed genuinely concerned that I was okay. It's nice to have friends like that. 3 weeks later, Sally called me. She wanted me to go with her to an event organized by the foundation that funded her camp. "I need someone to go with me. I don't want to fend off wolves all night. How about being my knight in shining armor?" I agreed to go with her and had a really good time. A month later, I called her and invited her to a party with my friends. I need a friend who won't get upset if I try to talk to influential people. Sally agreed to go with me, and I had a good time again. Soon we went to an exhibition, then to an autograph session, then to the theater, and soon we were seeing each other at least once a week. I don't know when our friendship turned into something more, but I remember exactly when I realized how much Sally had come to mean to me. Sally couldn't make it to my company's next event, so I went alone. Halfway through the evening, I realized I wasn't having fun, and that I missed Sally. Not the date, but Sally herself. The next evening, Sally and I met at our favorite bar. She apologized for not going with me, and I told her about the previous night. Then I did what seemed like a huge step to me. Sally, I know how I talked about women in general after Marcy, but I've changed my mind about one woman. Oh, someone I know, Mark? She asked with a smile. I was too stupid to realize that she already knew what I was talking about. Yes, Sally, you know her. I'm talking about you. I really like you, and I want to know if we have a chance to be more than friends. What do you think? Mark, I've been waiting a month for you to realize that we have a relationship. I really like you, and I'd like to see where our relationship goes. We became a couple, but we didn't rush things. 8 months passed before we moved in together. And here we are. Maybe Sally isn't the devil's spawn after all, but my angel. We'll see.